Black Stars of Ghana right now. The structure of the team is what we witnessed first. His setup of the team in this game showed that anything that we have to expect at the World Cup will be defensive football. Yes, you might talk about attacking play in some cases, but from the onset and how we were defending, how we were trying to be compact, it was down to the structure of the team. And I have to commend Lawrence Atisiki. In the first 15 minutes, we were a bit shaky. We were not playing well. If you monitor our defensive shape and how we were defending, especially on the left side, we were found wanting on most cases because Gideon Mensah was not being protected or being helped by Kamaldeen Sulemana on the left side of defense. But on the right side, I think it was pretty cool for Marvin Senaya as well as Fatawu Issahaku, who was helping him with the defensive duties. The structure of the team is what I'm so interested in. We all thought it was going to be a 4-2-3-1, but we saw a 4-4-2 with a variation of a 4-4-1-1. And when we attack, we usually look like a 4-2-4 team. Now you look at this team and then think of the World Cup proper, because that is what we will be doing. We will not be so flamboyant in attack. We will not be so expressive in attack. But in defense, we will express ourselves with man marking, with pressing. And I think that's what I'll talk about in a second now. But move from that structure of the team. And then one key area is finding the balance for the experienced players and the energetic players. The players that brought the intensity in the second half. In the first half, we talked about how Thomas Partey, Jordan Ayew were found wanting in most cases, how they could keep up with the pace of the game. When the game shifted in the latter parts of the encounter, like the first 30 minutes, the last 15 minutes of the game, we saw that the intensity of the game was improving and that Ghana needed to match up. And in matching up, you need players to show fitness, you need players to show intensity and energy, and that was what was lacking. Now in the second half, when the changes were made, we also, in fact, a lot of shifts in our performance on the pitch. Yes, I mentioned the players that were brought on. Players like Ernest Nuamah, Kalibyenchi, Kwesisibo. So the midfield pair was now Kwesisibo and Kalibyenchi. And on the flanks, we had Ernest Nuamah and then Christopher Bonsuba. What does this mean? This means that we know what we have to do at the World Cup. We know what we need to win games at the World Cup. And it is energy. The reason why I'm pointing this out is that in a competition or a tournament, you need to make sure that you find your right arsenals right from the onset. You don't need to wait to calm down the tempo of the game and then hope that you rise the intensity because you have players that have got energy. This is not an AFCON qualifier or World Cup qualifier where we can pass the ball around in defense for a longer period. This is a different ball game altogether, especially when we are facing teams that understand the terrain that we are entering, the World Cup, Croatia and England. They know that in competitions like this, you need to be a bully. So Ghana needs to also fight back. Were we getting that with the partnership of Elisha Owusu and Thomas Partey? No. It looks like we will have to shift from the Partey-Elisha duo and then find a solution. Maybe an Elisha Kalibyenchi, maybe a Kalibyenchi Thomas Partey, maybe a Kalibyenchi Kwesisibo midfield to defend, to also make sure that we fight for the 50-50 balls. And in fact, in Coach Carlos Queiroz's tactics in the first half especially, we saw a lot of the long balls. Now, when you're having long balls, it means that you must be ready for the second balls. Were we getting the second balls? No. We were not getting the second balls in most occasions. And at the World Cup, if we decide to play this way, we need to fix that part of our game. And it will be very, very important moving forward. Against Panama especially, who have also shown that they are not going to be minnows. They are not going to sit back and watch us pass the ball around. They would like to fight. That's why I said the World Cup is about fighting. The games that we've got. If we go to these matches and think that teams will sit back and watch us move the ball around, no, it might not happen. So we need to be ready to be bullies too, to fight and be bullies in this game. And what that means is that we need to rise in terms of intensity, and that's what we got in the second half. So for me, experience and energy, there must be a balance between the two. You pick one experienced player, you look at the energy side of things, and you blend them together in a way that your tactics will work. And that's what we will expect from Coach Carlos Queiroz. That said, players like Nuamah, Yenchi, Fatawu Issahaku, Sibo, Christopher Bonsuba, players that can press, against the likes of Elisha, Jordan, Baba, Abdul Rahman, Thomas Partey, the decision is for Coach Carlos Queiroz to find the right format for this. Number 3. So Carlos Queiroz pointed out on possession. Now, if Queiroz feels that we need to understand that it is not always going to be a possessive game for the Black Stars of Ghana. The point that I made, the structure and then energy comes in. So let's also take note on that. Number 4, competition for spots in defense and midfield. What we saw yesterday means that the guys have seen this is a new coach and everyone must put all his arsenals on the desk and perform. Everyone wants a spot in the Black Star squad. Fatawu Issahaku started. Ernest Nuamah knows that he's returning from an ACL injury and that he's now getting into his rhythm. Even in this rhythm, we saw his performance yesterday. He knows that to get a start in this team, he needs to perform well. When he stepped on the pitch, he claimed the spot in the starting lineup with his performance. In situations like this, that is what you do. And for me, it was a fair performance. We did not win because of a defensive lapse in the latter part of the game. Whether it's Baba Rahman, you can criticize him. Whether it's Jonas Ajite, you also have to mention him as well. But defensively, there are areas that we need to fix, and that's what Coach Carlos Queiroz needs to do.